So, eventually, this day came where I was at work, and it was finishing up. It was actually a really bad day at work. Everyone was really upset. One of our cooks was going to get fired by our boss, and we all knew it, and it was all sort of in everyone's face. But the strangest thing happened. I slipped on the floor. It was wet. I was wearing Chuck Taylors, so, my Converse, and I just slipped because they have no grip. And I had a glass in my hand, and I just fell, and I practically shattered the bone in my arm, and I broke the glass in my hand and cut my hand all up. It was ripped to pieces. My hand was, and after I fell, I'd hit my head pretty hard, and I'd done all this. I remember I'd hit my head so hard that I couldn't hear things very well afterwards for a few minutes. And I was sitting down, and the girl that I was interested in helped me up, and she brought me over to the table, and we sort of bandaged my hand, and everyone was really worried, and it was really strange because I had fallen. That horrible day that was going on at work suddenly just stopped, and everyone stopped thinking about all the bad things. And I don't think our cook even got fired because of it. I don't know why. It just seemed to make everyone realize that, I don't know, the silly things we were talking about and thinking about didn't really matter that much. And she's bandaging my hand, this girl, and she's wrapping it up, and everyone's sort of like, are you okay? Drink some water, things like that. Generally concerned. And my blood from my hand, from where I cut it, is just gushing out of my hand. It's just pouring out, because when I get cut, I bleed forever. And the girl is holding my hand so tightly, and the blood is gushing out, and I know this sounds so strange and so weird, but it just felt really intimate, like her holding my hand. And I guess that was the moment I really decided that I had to do something, because if I didn't do something, I was gonna go crazy. I don't know what it was. Something about, I hit my head. Maybe that had a lot to do with it. But the blood, just her holding my hand, and her holding my hand felt amazing. I don't know what it was. I just felt this connection, and it was totally a connection only on my part, as I would find out later. But at the moment, I felt like it was real. So I end up having to take a few days off of work because my hand is so cut up I can't put it in water, and I can't handle food very well. And during one of those days at work, when I'm off work, the girl calls me because I don't know why we exchanged numbers, and she asked me to come to where she has a second job at this ice cream place, and I come over there. She asked me to come over there one night to see my hand, and we talk, and she gives me ice cream, and I don't know, I guess I was flirting with this fantasy, and she was just being friendly to me, and nothing else, and I took it as so much more. And that night, I talked to my boyfriend, and I told him that I was having feelings for another person, and he was really upset, and he cried, and we didn't really know what was going to happen. And then that night, after we'd gone to bed, I had this crazy dream. This crazy, crazy dream. I woke up from it the next day, and it was like a fire had been lit underneath me, and I knew that I had to do something. And so I went through this crazy exodus, really suddenly. I called my mom, and I figured out that I was going to move back here, and back to my house here in Hayesville, and I decided I was going to change everything in that day. I was just suddenly awake and alive, and I was just going to do something, and I wanted to be with this girl that badly. That I would destroy everything that I've been working for 4 years, and just throw it all away for one chance at love, at a love that was completely a fantasy to me. And so that afternoon, I packed all my things, I got it all ready, I picked up my boyfriend from work, and I told him that I was leaving, put all my things in my car, and before I left, I decided I wanted to talk to her. I wanted to have one last, just before I left, because Asheville was 2 hours away from where I was moving, and obviously I was thinking a lot about her, and it all seemed to work out so perfectly. It was so strange. It was almost like serendipity. and she, like, at the last possible moment before I was willing to leave without seeing her, we ended up meeting up, and there was just enough time for us to go into the city and have lunch. And we sat down and we had lunch at this Japanese place, and we ate squid and we talked, and it was so great, and I felt, this real connection, but that connection was totally false and totally fantasy. And so I left that day thinking all these great things. I felt like I had succeeded in something. I felt like she might like me, and that there might be a chance at that love that I was fantasizing about, and I was ecstatic, and I was blissful for all these first couple days that I'd come home, and I wanted to see her so bad and talk to her, and I was just being silly and in love with the idea. And after that, a week or so later, there came this morning where I'd been trying to talk to her over the phone, and nothing was really happening. She was kind of avoiding me, and for good, rightful reason. And so I was reading these Bruce Lee quotes at at 4 in the morning, and I just had this epiphany, this crazy epiphany, and I was like, I'm going to do something. I'm going to rush out of here. I'm going to take everything that I own. I'm going to put it in my car. I'm going to go to Asheville. I'm going to find some way to live there so I can be close to her and make something of this. And I did it. I really did it. I went crazy. I put all my things in my car. I went flying into the city, and I went there, and I showed up at work again, and I made an absolute fool of myself. Made all these promises. I said all these things, and then halfway through the day, I sold all these things that I owned, and just to make some money for this rent that I was gonna have to have. I was looking for a place to live, and I was looking for a new job, and I was doing all these crazy things, but it was really exciting. I felt alive and ecstatic, and suddenly I felt like I was really living, like I was really alive all at once. But then I had to know. I had to know if my feelings were one-sided, because I suddenly had I had doubt, and that doubt became like a seed of poison in my mind. So I texted the girl, and we decided to talk after, because I was being really emotional and really strange, and obviously she noticed. So we ended up going over to the Riverside Graveyard and talking about it, and she was not interested in me. She said that she was in love with someone else, and I just remember the ride home, and just screaming at myself, and feeling how everything was so futile and meaningless, and but I was laughing and crying, and it was really weird. It was strange, because I had more emotion for that relationship that never happened than for the relationship I had with the man I'd been with for 4 years. It was really absurd. It was really strange. It was a strange awakening for me. But now, after many months, after I thought about it, thought about her, and thought about him, and thought about all these things, I have all these. I don't know if I would call it regret, but I don't know whether I made the right choice. I don't know whether I am making the right choices. Part of me wants to try and amend things, and then part of me isn't able to get over the pride of doing that and taking it back, and part of me doesn't want to, and I don't really know what I want. I have absolutely no clue what I want, which is nothing new. It's pretty much my entire state of being, which is uncertainty and not knowing. But I don't know, I guess I was just finally ready to talk about that to something, someone, anyone. And this is what this video is about. And so that is my crazy story about my relationship that ended in Nashville. That's it.